You're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you're carrying too much that doesn't belong to you. Think about it. You sleep, but you wake up exhausted. You push harder, but feel emptier. You try to be more disciplined, more focused, more productive. Yet something inside you keeps draining your energy no matter how much effort you give. And here's the truth most people will never tell you. The problem has never been your effort. It's your direction. Centuries ago, in the mountains of Japan, there was a principle that separated warriors who burned out from those who moved with endless energy. They called it Dudo, the way of walking alone. Not alone in isolation, but alone without the weight of expectations, comparison, and the constant need to prove something to the world. Because the samurai understood something we've forgotten. Energy doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from alignment, from removing what doesn't belong, from carrying less. And if you're watching this right now, chances are you're not lacking discipline. You're just overloaded with invisible weight, the need to be seen, the need to be validated, the pressure to become someone you're not even sure you want to be. So let me ask you something. How many stones are you carrying right now without even realizing it? If this resonates with you, comment 1 below. Because in a moment, I'm going to tell you a story about a young warrior who trained harder than everyone else and still collapsed. Not because his body failed him, but because his mind was carrying a weight he didn't even know existed. And what he discovered next will completely change the way you see energy, discipline, and your entire life. Chapter 1. The Collapse. When effort becomes a burden. Osaka, 1942. Renji was 19 when he first stepped into the dojo. He had everything people admire. Discipline, ambition, hunger, the kind of fire that makes others believe you're destined for something great. He woke up earlier than everyone else, trained longer than anyone, and pushed himself beyond limits most wouldn't even approach. And for a while, it worked. His technique improved. His body became sharper, faster, stronger. But after 6 months, something changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, quietly. He began waking up tired. Then he started training tired. Then even after resting, he was still tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix. Something heavier, like there was a weight sitting on his chest that refused to move. At first he ignored it. Push harder, he told himself. Everyone feels this. This is what it takes. But the more he pushed, the worse it became. Until one afternoon, during a sparring session, something happened that shattered everything he believed about himself. He lost, not to the best student, not to someone stronger, but to someone he had defeated dozens of times before. His movements were slow, his reactions delayed, his mind scattered. After the match, he stood there, breathing heavily, staring at the ground. Confused, embarrassed. "Why am I like this?" he whispered. That night, as the sun disappeared behind the mountains, his master called him. "Walk with me." They moved in silence through the garden behind the dojo. No instructions, no correction. Just the sound of footsteps on gravel. Finally, his master stopped. "Tell me, Renji, why did you come here?" "To become the strongest," Renji replied immediately. His master nodded slightly. "And why?" Renji hesitated. No one had ever asked him that. "To prove myself," he said. "To be respected, to become someone important." The silence that followed felt heavier than any training session. Then his master spoke. "You are not exhausted because of your training." Renji looked up. "You are exhausted," the master continued, "because you are performing." The words hit him harder than any strike. "You are not training to master yourself," the master said calmly. "You are training to be seen." He bent down, picked up a small stone, and placed it in Renji's palm. "Every time you seek approval, you carry one of these. Another stone. Every time you compare yourself, another. Every time you doubt, hesitate, try to impress, another." Soon, Renji's empty hands felt impossibly heavy. "You are not tired from effort," the master said. "You are tired from carrying what was never yours to hold." Chapter 2. The Revelation. The Weight You Cannot See. That night, Renji couldn't sleep. He lay on the thin wooden floor of his room, staring at the ceiling, feeling the invisible weight pressing down on him. The stones his master spoke of, they weren't real, but somehow they felt heavier than anything he had ever carried. Every moment replayed in his mind. Every time he tried to impress. Every time he compared himself. Every time he trained, not to grow, but to be seen. For the first time, he realized something terrifying. He had never truly trained for himself. The next morning, before sunrise, his master was already waiting. "Come," he said. They walked to a storage room Renji had passed hundreds of times but never entered. Inside, it was filled with everything a warrior could want: weapons, armor, clothing, tools, scrolls, enough to survive any journey. "You will go to the mountains," his master said. 1 year. Renji's eyes widened slightly. "Take what you need." Without hesitation, Renji began gathering supplies. Extra clothes, spare blades, writing tools, blankets, food containers, books. Within minutes, a large pile formed in front of him. He looked at it, satisfied. "I'm ready." His master shook his head. "No. Now remove everything of no use." Renji frowned. "But master, I might need these." His master stepped closer. "That is the beginning of your burden." He picked up one item from the pile and dropped it to the side. "Might need is how you carry weight for things that will never come." One by one, they removed items. Half the pile disappeared. Then more, until only the essentials remained. One blade, one set of clothes, one bowl, one blanket. Renji stared at what was left. It felt uncomfortable, exposed. "Good," his master said. "That discomfort is truth." They stepped outside, into the quiet morning air. "Listen carefully," the master continued. Miyamoto Musashi lived with almost nothing, not because he had to, but because he understood something most people never will. He drew 2 figures in the dirt. One man, bent forward, carrying a massive weight. Another, standing upright, walking freely. Most people believe they are tired because life is heavy. He pointed to the first figure, but life is not what exhausts them. Then to the second. What exhausts them is what they choose to carry. Renji felt the words settle deep inside him. Thoughts, expectations, the need to prove, the fear of judgment, the endless comparison. His master looked directly at him. "These are your stones." A pause. Musashi asked one question about everything in his life. He leaned closer. "Is this necessary for my path?" Another silence. If the answer was no, he removed it without hesitation. Renji swallowed slowly. "This is Judo," the master said. "The way of walking alone. Not alone without people, but alone without their weight." And for the first time in his life, Renji understood. He wasn't exhausted because he was weak. He was exhausted because he had been carrying everything that was never meant to be his. Chapter 3. The Practice. When the mind refuses to let go, the first week in the mountains was harder than any training Renji had ever endured. Not because of the cold, not because of the isolation, but because for the first time in his life, he could no longer hide from himself. There were no other students to compare with, no master watching him, no audience, just silence. And in that silence, something unexpected happened. His mind became louder than ever. As he sat to eat, thoughts rushed in. "This is pointless. You're falling behind. Others are getting stronger while you're doing nothing." When he walked, the same voice followed him. "You should be training harder. You're wasting time. You're losing your edge." Renji clenched his fists. Even here, even alone, he was still carrying the stones. After 7 days, he returned to the dojo as instructed. His master looked at him once and already understood. "You see it now," he said. Renji nodded slowly. "I can't stop it." "Good," the master replied. Renji looked confused. "Good?" he asked. "You were never meant to stop it," the master said calmly. "You were meant to see it." They sat facing each other. "Your mind has been trained for years to seek approval, to compare, to perform," the master continued. "Do you think it will disappear in a week?" Renji shook his head. "No." "Then stop trying to fight it." A pause. "Instead, observe it." The next practice began immediately. "For the next 7 days, the master said, you will do one thing." "What is it?" "You will notice." Renji frowned slightly. "Notice every moment you act for validation, every thought of comparison, every urge to prove something." "And then?" Renji asked. "Nothing." Renji blinked. "That's it?" "That's it." The simplicity felt almost insulting, but he followed the instruction. Day 1, he noticed it everywhere. While training, am I better than him? While eating, do I look disciplined enough? While resting, am I wasting time? By day 3, it became overwhelming. It wasn't occasional, it was constant. Every action contaminated, every moment divided. There was always a second voice watching, judging, performing. By day 7, Renji returned, exhausted in a way he had never felt before. "I'm worse than I thought," he admitted. His master shook his head. "No." He placed a hand on Renji's shoulder. "You are finally seeing clearly." He picked up 2 sticks and placed them side by side. "This is what's happening inside you." He pointed to the first, the one who acts, then the second, the one who watches, judges, performs. He looked directly into Renji's eyes. "You are living as 2 people." A long silence. "That split," the master said softly, "is where your energy disappears." Renji felt something click. Not fully, but enough. For the first time, he wasn't just tired. He understood why. Chapter 4. The Science of Alignment. Why you feel drained. Renji sat in silence, the master's words echoing in his mind. "You are living as 2 people." At first, it sounded like philosophy, but over the next few days, something deeper began to reveal itself. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a mechanism, a pattern, a system inside him that had been running his entire life without him ever noticing. One morning, as they sat beneath a tree, the master spoke again. "What you are experiencing is not weakness," he said. "It is division." Renji listened closely. "When your body does one thing, and your mind is somewhere else, you lose energy." He drew a line in the dirt. "This is you, when you are aligned." Then he drew a broken, scattered line. "And this is you now." Renji stared at it. The difference was obvious. "When you train," the master continued, "part of you is moving, but another part is watching, judging, comparing, planning the next move, fearing the result." He paused. "That split consumes more energy than the training itself." Renji felt the truth of it immediately. It explained everything. Why even simple tasks felt exhausting. Why his mind never rested. Why no amount of effort made him feel better. "You believe you are tired because you do too much," the master said. "But in reality, you are tired because you are divided." A long silence followed. Then the master continued. "There is a state warriors discover where this division disappears." Renji looked up. "In battle, there is no time to think about how you look, no time to compare, no time to hesitate. There is only the moment." He tapped the ground. "Here. And when you are fully here, something changes. Your movements become effortless. Your mind becomes quiet. Your energy becomes endless." Renji leaned forward slightly. "What is that state?" he asked. The master looked at him calmly. "No mind. Not the absence of thought, but the absence of interference. A mind that does not interrupt action," he explained. "A mind that does not fight itself." Renji felt something shift again. "So the goal is to stop thinking?" he asked. The master shook his head. "No. The goal is to stop obeying every thought. Pause. Thoughts will always come, but they don't have to control you." Renji sat there, absorbing it. For the first time, he understood something clearly. His exhaustion was not physical. It was not even emotional. It was structural. He had been living in constant internal conflict, and conflict always consumes energy. The master stood up slowly. "When you remove the conflict," he said, "you don't need more energy." He looked back at Renji. "You realize you had it all along." Chapter 5. The Breakthrough. When effort disappears. By the second month, something began to change. Not dramatically, not in a way others could easily see. But inside Renji, the noise was starting to weaken. The thoughts were still there. The comparisons, the urge to prove, the quiet need to be seen. But now, there was space between them. For the first time, he could notice a thought without immediately following it. And that small gap changed everything. His master decided it was time. "Tomorrow," he said, "you will spar again." Renji felt a familiar tension rise in his chest. But this time, he didn't resist it. He simply noticed it. That night, there was no overthinking, no imagining outcomes, no rehearsing victory or fearing defeat, just preparation and rest. The next morning, the dojo gathered. Across from him stood Daichi, the strongest student, faster, more experienced, undefeated against Renji. In the past, this moment would have consumed him. Thoughts racing. What if I lose again? I need to prove I've improved. I can't fail this time. But now, there was only one thing in his mind. This moment, they bowed. The match began. Daichi attacked first, sharp, precise, aggressive, and something unexpected happened. Renji didn't react with fear. He didn't calculate. He didn't try to win. He simply moved, not from memory, not from pressure, but from presence. Each strike came, and his body responded. Clean, direct, without hesitation, without noise. Seconds passed, then minutes, and gradually, the energy in the room shifted. Daichi's breathing grew heavier, his movements slightly slower, less precise, more forceful, more desperate. Renji remained calm, light, effortless, as if he had just begun. The watching students started to notice this wasn't the same Renji. At the 5-minute mark, Daichi stepped back, frustrated. "How are you not tired?" he demanded. Renji didn't answer immediately, because for the first time, he didn't need to. The answer was already clear. He wasn't fighting Daichi. He wasn't fighting himself. He wasn't carrying anything. No expectations, no fear, no need to prove. Just movement, just awareness, just presence. The match ended shortly after, not with a dramatic victory, but with something far more powerful: clarity. That evening, his master approached him. "You felt it," he said. Renji nodded. "It was effortless." The master smiled slightly. "That is what happens when you stop wasting energy." He looked directly at him. "You didn't become stronger, you became lighter." And in that moment, Renji understood. Energy was never something you build, it was something you stop losing. Chapter 6. The Deep Training, Where Resistance Dies. A few weeks after the match, Renji thought he understood. He felt lighter, more focused, more in control. But his master saw something he didn't. "This is only the beginning," he said. The next morning, Renji was sent away, to the mountains, to a monastery hidden beyond the forest, where warriors did not train with swords, but with silence. When he arrived, the air felt different. Still, heavy, unforgiving. The head monk greeted him with a single instruction: "Leave everything you think you know at the gate." Renji bowed. The training began immediately. No sparring, no technique, no strategy, only repetition. Wake before sunrise. Sit in silence. Walk slowly. Eat without speaking. Work without distraction. Then repeat. Again, and again, and again. At first, it felt unbearable. Not because it was difficult, but because it was empty. No progress to measure. No one to impress. No outcome to chase. And that's when the resistance returned. Stronger than before. "This is pointless. You're wasting time. You should be doing something real." Renji felt frustration rise inside him. Every day felt the same. Endless. Meaningless. Until one afternoon, while carrying water from the well, he stopped. Not because he was tired, but because he noticed something. The exhaustion wasn't coming from the work. It was coming from the resistance to the work. His body was moving, but his mind was somewhere else. Complaining, rejecting, escaping. That was the split. That was the leak. He stood there, holding the bucket, breathing slowly, and for the first time, he let go. No judgment, no resistance, no desire for things to be different. Just the weight of the water, the feeling of his steps, the sound of his breath, and suddenly, the heaviness disappeared. The task didn't change, but his relationship to it did. From that moment on, everything shifted. Sweeping the floor became complete. Eating became complete. Walking became complete. There was no next, no better, no should be, just this. And strangely, energy began to return, not in bursts, not in excitement, but as a quiet, steady flow. By the 3rd month, the monks noticed Renji moved differently, slower, but more precise, calmer, but more powerful. He no longer rushed, because he was no longer chasing anything. One evening, the head monk approached him. "You see it now," he said. Renji nodded. "It was never the work that drained me." The monk smiled. "No, it was the part of you that refused to be where you are." Renji looked down at his hands, empty. For the first time in his life, there were no stones left to carry. And in that emptiness, he didn't feel lost, he felt free. Chapter 7. The Final Test. Presence Under Fire. When Renji returned from the mountains, nothing about him looked extraordinary. He carried the same sword, wore the same clothes, spoke the same few words. But anyone who stood near him could feel it. Something had changed, not in his strength, but in his presence. His master said nothing for 3 days. Then, on the 4th morning, he spoke. "Tomorrow," he said, "you will face your final test." Renji nodded. No questions, no hesitation. Not because he was fearless, but because he no longer needed to control what hadn't happened yet. The next day, they traveled to a nearby village. A Ronin had been causing chaos. A skilled fighter, unpredictable. Several had tried to stop him. None succeeded. Some didn't return. The villagers stood at a distance as Renji walked forward. Across from him stood the Ronin, older, battle-scarred, eyes filled with something between anger and emptiness. "You're the one they sent?" the Ronin smirked. Renji said nothing. He simply stood, present, grounded. The air grew heavy. The fight began without warning. The Ronin attacked fast, brutal, no restraint. Each strike carried real intent, real danger. In the past, this would have triggered everything inside Renji. Fear, adrenaline, overthinking. But now, there was only awareness. No story, no future, no outcome. Just movement, strike, step, breath. Again, the Ronin pressed harder, faster, more aggressive, trying to overwhelm him. But something unexpected happened. The more the Ronin pushed, the more he began to tire. His strikes became heavier, less precise, driven by force instead of clarity. Renji remained the same, calm, light, unshaken. Not because the fight was easy, but because he wasn't fighting beyond the moment. Minutes passed, an eternity in combat. Then, an opening appeared. Clear, simple. Renji moved. One step, one strike. The Ronin's sword fell from his hand. Silence. The fight was over. The Ronin dropped to his knees, breathing heavily, confused. "How?" he gasped. "You're not stronger than me." Renji looked at him calmly. "I didn't try to be. A pause. You fought to win." Another breath. I stayed present. The difference was everything. The villagers slowly approached. Relief filled the air. But Renji turned away. No celebration, no pride, no need to be seen. Because the real victory had already happened long before this fight. That evening, his master spoke one final time. "This is what most never understand." Renji listened. Strength fades, technique evolves, but presence, he paused, is what makes a warrior unshakable. Renji bowed, not as a student seeking approval, but as a man who finally carried nothing. And in that emptiness, he had found something greater than victory. He had found freedom. Conclusion: the weight you choose to carry. Renji's journey didn't end with that final battle. In many ways, it was only the beginning. Because what he discovered was not a technique, not a strategy, not something you turn on and off. It was a way of living. And the truth he uncovered is the same truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You are not exhausted because life is hard. You are exhausted because you are carrying what was never meant for you. The need to be approved, the pressure to be perfect, the constant comparison, the voice in your head asking, "Am I enough?" These are the stones, and most people never put them down. They try to become stronger, more disciplined, more productive, but they never ask the real question. What am I carrying that I don't need? Because the truth is simple. Energy is not something you build. It's something you stop wasting. The moment you stop performing, the moment you stop comparing, the moment you stop trying to become someone else, something strange happens. You don't feel weaker, you feel lighter, clearer, more present. And from that place, action becomes effortless, not because life is easy, but because you are no longer divided. So here is your practice. Starting tomorrow, do one thing at a time, fully. When you eat, just eat. When you work, just work. When you rest, just rest. And more importantly, start removing one stone, just one. Maybe it's the need to check what others think. Maybe it's the habit of comparing yourself. Maybe it's the pressure to prove something. Let it go and see what happens. Because the path is not about adding more. It's about carrying less. And now I want to ask you something. What is one thing you know you've been carrying that you need to let go of? If you're ready to put it down, comment yes below. Make it real. Make it a decision. Because nothing changes until you choose. And remember this, you don't need more motivation. You don't need more discipline. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to return to who you are without the weight. The warrior's path is simple. Remove what is unnecessary. Walk your path. Stay present, and everything you've been searching for will meet you there. The choice has always been yours, and it still is. So choose carefully and walk forward, lighter. Always be present, walk with honor and faith, and follow your path.